The silence you carry might be the loudest weapon you've ever owned, but you don't know it yet, because you were taught to speak, to prove, to defend, to explain, taught that if you don't shout your worth, no one will see it. But Nietzsche knew something you were never supposed to hear, that he knew that silence isn't weakness, it's domination. And in a world addicted to noise, the man who says nothing controls everything. Let me ask you something brutal. Have you ever walked into a room and felt invisible? Have you ever said the right things, done everything by the book, but still got overlooked, disrespected, dismissed? That feeling you carry, that silent scream inside your chest, it's not weakness, it's your power misused, misplaced, buried under the noise. Because the ones who rise, they don't fight with volume, they fight with presence. And Nietzsche, he whispered the trick. The one silent move that shifts the power in any room, any battle, any life. It's not taught in schools, it's not posted on social media, it's not in the books they recommend to the sheep. It's hidden. But not from you. Not anymore. Because the moment you learn to control your silence, not just to shut up, but to weaponize it, that's the moment people lean in. They start to wonder who you are, why you don't flinch, why you don't explain, why you don't need approval. And in that wonder, you control them. That's the first fracture in their armor, the crack where power leaks out of them and into you. Let's go deeper. Nietzsche once wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow." But what if you flipped it? What if your silence wasn't just endurance, but a signal? A way of making others carry the burden of interpreting you. You see, when you talk too much, you give them the map, you show your hand, they now know what you fear, what you want, what you're trying to prove. But when you master the art of deliberate silence, they can't place you. They don't know whether you're a threat or their salvation. And that ambiguity is power. Let me give you something real. There was a CEO, ruthless and revered, who built $1 billion empire in negotiations. He was known for one thing. He would say nothing after his offer. People would squirm, they'd fidget, they'd speak, trying to fill the gap, and every word they said gave him leverage. Because silence is not just the absence of noise. It is pressure. It makes the weak confess. It makes the unsure break. It makes the world try to figure you out. And in that dance, you become the axis. That's not just psychological, it's Nietzschean warfare. He believed that morality, tradition, even truth, were tools used by the herd to tame the wild. To domesticate the lion inside you. But silence is the one trick that lets the lion walk through the sheep undetected. Because you're no longer seeking applause, you're watching, you're measuring. And when the moment comes, you strike with precision. Not with noise, but with intent. You don't fight like the desperate. You move like the dangerous. And yet, you've been told the opposite, haven't you? That to be confident, you must assert yourself. That to succeed, you must speak up. Raise your hand. Market yourself, shout. But shouting is for the insecure. Because if you were truly dangerous, wouldn't the world feel it without a single word? Let me paint it for you. A room full of loud men. Egos swinging, laughter booming, everyone competing for attention. And then, a man walks in, says nothing, looks at no one. Takes his seat like a king on his throne. Suddenly the air shifts. The loud ones get louder, trying to pull his eyes. But he doesn't budge. He doesn't need to. Because silence, when owned, is a mirror. It reflects their insecurity, their need to be seen, their thirst to be validated. And you, the silent one, you've already won. Nietzsche didn't live for social approval, he lived for truth, for force, for mastery. He walked away from everything, from fame, from comfort, even from love, to build a mind that could not be conquered. And now, part of that mind is being transferred into yours. But here's the brutal part. If you don't learn this, you will be ruled by those who do. People who've mastered their silence will play you like a puppet. They'll draw you in, expose your weaknesses, make you explain, justify, defend, and then they'll crush you, not with noise, but with a quiet, surgical strike. Because while you were talking, they were watching. While you were proving, they were positioning. That's how the silent take the throne. You want power? Learn to make your silence say something, not by withdrawing in fear, but by sitting in your throne and letting the world come to you. Don't chase attention. Command it. Don't explain your value. Radiate it. And above all, don't be afraid of silence, because the day you master it, you'll never be beneath anyone again. But there's one more thing. Nietzsche knew a truth buried so deep only the most dangerous men ever find it. A trick not just to remain silent, but to become untouchable while doing it. And once you understand this next layer, no one will ever be able to play you again. You've felt the weight of silence, but what if I told you? Silence isn't just a weapon you wield in moments of calm, it's a living force you cultivate deep inside. Nietzsche didn't just preach silence, he lived in it. He transformed it, and that transformation, it made him untouchable. There's a hidden trap most people fall into when they try to use silence as power. They think it's about shutting up, about withdrawal, about fear. No, true power is far darker and more precise. It's about control. Control over your own mind. Control over the chaos that screams inside you. Control over the need to be liked, to be understood, to be right. Imagine standing in the middle of a hurricane. Everyone around you is screaming, panicking, chasing noise to drown their fear. You stand still. You don't flinch. You become the eye of the storm. That's the first secret Nietzsche forces into you. The power of emotional detachment. But emotional detachment isn't numbness, it's mastery. It's a predator's calm before the strike. When you detach, truly detach, from the need to prove yourself, to justify, to explain, you become a blank canvas. And here's the brutal truth. People project onto blank canvases. They put their fears, desires, and insecurities onto you without even realizing it. You don't become less. You become more mysterious, more dangerous, more powerful. Now, look at history's great rulers, warriors, and visionaries. They didn't explain their plans. They didn't reveal their fears. They were icebergs, 90% hidden, silent, unmoving. But the 10% you saw was enough to control entire empires. Napoleon was a master of this. He'd listen more than speak. He let others fill the air, spill their strategies, their doubts, and then he struck when no one was watching. He understood that silence was a trap, that it forces others to fill the void. And in that void, you own the map. You're no longer the one chased. You become the hunter. But emotional detachment is only half the trick. The second, darker truth Nietzsche whispered, it's called the silent pulse. What is this silent pulse? It's the rhythm of power, the slow, deliberate beat of a man who owns his time, his words, his energy. When you speak, your voice is not just sound, it's a weapon shaped by intention, timing, and control. The silent pulse is the rhythm between your words, the pauses you take, the moments you choose not to speak. Think about the last time someone made you wait for an answer. That moment stretched seconds into hours in your mind. You overthink. You scramble for meaning. That's the power of the silent pulse. It's a way of making your presence felt. Without saying a single word, you create tension. You make others desperate to hear from you, and in that desperation, you are power incarnate. Think of a chess master, silent in his study, letting the opponent make mistake after mistake while he watches, calculating, waiting. He never reveals his plan too soon. His silence is a force field, a weapon sharper than any sword. But how do you train this power? Nietzsche said it starts with mastering your own inner dialogue. The voice inside your head that screams doubt, fear, the need for approval. You must silence it first. Because as long as you are controlled by your own noise, you can't control the noise of others. When you learn to sit with your inner silence, not running from it, not drowning it out, you become the master of your own mind. And when you master your mind, the world's mind becomes your playground. But there's a danger here, and Nietzsche warns of it with cold clarity. This silence, this power, if wielded poorly, turns into arrogance, into cold cruelty, into isolation. The line between the silent warrior and the silent tyrant is thin, and every man must walk it alone. You must always ask yourself, is your silence a shield or a prison? Is it power or a cage? Because the ultimate power Nietzsche speaks of is freedom. Freedom from the noise of the world. Freedom from the need to perform. Freedom from the chains of validation. The silent warrior is free, and the free man is unstoppable. Now you're probably wondering, how do you make this silence work in your life? How do you survive, even thrive, in a world obsessed with noise, attention, and empty validation? The answer is brutal but simple. You become a mirror, not a loudspeaker. You reflect what others want to see. You show only what you choose. You reveal your truth in fragments, enough to keep them guessing, never enough to be understood. Because mystery is magnetic, and in mystery lies power. You don't have to scream to be heard. You don't have to justify to be respected. You don't have to explain to be feared. You just have to be still, to be quiet, and let your silence do the talking. Nietzsche's silent trick. It's not just the absence of words. It's the presence of unshakable will behind those words. It's the knowledge that what you don't say is far more powerful than what you do. And now that you're waking up to this, you're no longer a passive player. You are the strategist. You are the shadow in the room, the calm before the storm, the silence that breaks worlds. And it all begins with mastering the dark, silent pulse of your own power. Ready to plunge deeper? To learn how the silence transforms you from prey to predator. When you say yes, the transformation begins. You're standing on the edge now, between the noise of the world and the quiet power that waits beneath. Most never cross this line. They cling to the chaos, the clamor, the desperate need to be seen, heard, validated. But not you. You've tasted the silence, and you feel its pulse in your veins. The question is, what will you do with it? Because silence isn't just a weapon, it's a path. A path that strips away weakness and reveals something dangerous beneath. Your true self, the man Nietzsche envisioned, not the one begging for approval, drowning in doubt, but the one who commands reality with quiet force. The first sign of this transformation is subtle. You begin to notice it in how people react. They lean in when you speak. They hesitate before interrupting. They sense the gravity behind your every word, even when you say nothing. This isn't magic. It's the raw effect of mastery. You've become the storm no one dares challenge. Not because you shouted louder, but because you stood still, unmovable, and made silence your armor. But this power is not for the weak. It demands sacrifice. You will lose friends, those who thrived on your noise, your approval, your performance. They will call you cold, distant, arrogant. Let them. Their judgment is the echo of their own fear. Your new life is a different battlefield. You don't fight with weapons others see. You wield invisibility. You manipulate without words. You command without shouting. Look at the great tacticians in history, the ones who conquered without armies, who dominated without weapons. They understood the silent game better than anyone. Talleyrand, the master diplomat of the French Empire, was a ghost in the room, bending kings to his will without ever raising his voice. More recently, consider Steve Jobs, not the loudest in the room, but the most feared. His silence was his power. His pauses? Strategic bombs that left rivals scrambling. This is your future, the future where you are no longer the prey, no longer the one reacting to others' noise and chaos. You become the strategist. You learn the rhythm of patience, waiting for the perfect moment to strike with words or action. And when you do, it shatters expectations. Your silence becomes a promise, a threat, a weapon. You move through life like a shadow, unseen until it's too late. But here's the most important truth about this transformation. It's not about cruelty or domination for its own sake. It's about freedom. Freedom from the chains of approval. Freedom from the anxiety of constant performance. Freedom from being pulled by every loud voice around you. The silent warrior stands alone, yes, but he stands free, and in that freedom lies your greatest strength. You are no longer controlled by the chaos of others. You create your own order, your own rules, your own power. Every step you take is deliberate. Every word you speak is measured. Every silence is charged with meaning. You become the master of your fate, the architect of your destiny. But beware, the path is not easy. You will face moments of doubt. Loneliness will knock at your door. The silence inside you will sometimes roar like a wild beast. That's when you must remember Nietzsche's final command. Embrace the silence. Let it temper you like steel. Let it make you stronger. You're no longer a victim of the world's noise. You are the force that shapes it, and with this power comes responsibility. The responsibility to never forget where you started. To use your silence not just to dominate, but to protect. To build. To inspire. You are not a tyrant. You are a king, silent, steady, unstoppable. The man who commands respect without demanding it. The force that moves unseen, yet changes everything. You have crossed the threshold. You are the silent power Nietzsche promised. Are you ready to claim this power fully? To step into a life where silence speaks louder than any roar? The final step is near, and it will change everything. You came here seeking power, not the flashy, temporary kind, but the deep, silent force that shifts worlds beneath the surface. And now, you stand transformed. From the noise and chaos, you carved out a sanctuary. A realm ruled by patience, strategy, and quiet strength. This journey you've taken, it's not for everyone. Most will never understand the beauty in silence, the danger in restraint. They live for applause, for chaos, for the easy victories. But you've stepped beyond that. You've touched the forbidden truth Nietzsche whispered to the strong. He who speaks much is often defeated. He who rules in silence wins. There is a secret power in your silence, an invisible throne beneath your calm exterior. You wield influence like a shadow in the night, unseen, unstoppable. You move through the world with a presence that bends reality, not by noise or force, but by the profound weight of what you don't say. The power you now possess is terrifying to those who depend on noise to survive. They will try to pull you back into the chaos. They will mistake your silence for weakness. Let them. You know the truth. Silence is your sword. Silence is your shield. Silence is the language of those who rule without question. But here's the final lesson, the one that separates the true masters from the pretenders. Power without wisdom is a storm that destroys everything in its path. You must use this silent strength with purpose, to build, to protect, to create a legacy that outlasts noise and fury. You are no longer the desperate voice crying out for validation. You are the calm eye in the hurricane, the quiet force shaping destinies in ways others can't even see. Now, take this power and walk forward with intent. Speak less, observe more, act only when it will change everything. Your silence will become your signature, your presence, unforgettable, your power, eternal. Remember this moment, because from here on out, you carry a secret weapon few will ever understand. And that is exactly how power is meant to be wielded. If this truth stirred something in you, if you feel the hunger to master yourself and command the unseen forces around you, then do not stop here. Like, comment, and subscribe. Join a community that understands the silent path to power. Share this video with those who are ready to awaken their own quiet dominance. Because the world needs more silent warriors, not noisy spectators. You've crossed a threshold today. You are no longer just watching, you are becoming, and with every step forward, remember, power is never given. It is taken. Quietly, relentlessly, and with unshakable resolve. Stay silent, stay strong, and watch the world bow to your unseen force.